Ford released the pricing for the 2024 Ford Mustang just earlier this year, and I'm going to show you what this will cost in all of its trim levels. But when I saw the pricing here, it got me thinking, what are the alternatives? If you want a fun V8 sports car, what are the alternatives that are cheaper than the brand new 50 GT 2024 Ford Mustang? So first of all, I'm going to show you the pricing of the new Mustang, and then I'm going to show you 5 different cars that I think would definitely be up there if I was in the market for a new GT to consider. They're not new cars, but they're all pretty much cheaper than what the new Mustang GT is. So here we have the pricing for the 2024 Mustang. Starting with the EcoBoost Fastback for $30,920, going all the way up to the Dark Horse Fastback for close to $60,000 or $58,000. Now, the one we're going to focus on here is the GT Fastback. This one right here starts at $41,495. So what are the alternatives here? And I'm also going to show you why, if I was in the market for the new Mustang, it would be, very one detail that would maybe put me off buying a new Mustang, and that has to do with the interior. I've talked a little bit about that before, but I'm just going to show you what the big mistake from Ford here is with the new Mustang when it comes to this design. The new GT has 480 horsepower. That is up from 450 from the current 2023 model year. With that said, let's jump into these alternatives here, and these are some pretty sweet alternatives for less than $41,500. I'm going to go through them pretty quickly first, but then I'm going to jump into Photoshop and we're going to talk about the design of each of these alternatives and let you know which ones are my top 2 or 3 out of the 5. It's going to be very hard to choose. But first of all, we have the BMW M3 E92. So this is a 4-liter V8 in an M3, the only time BMW put a V8 in the M3. And there's actually the same engine as you have in the M5 E60. They just cut 2 cylinders from it and made it into a V8 instead of a V10. You got 414 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque, which sounds pretty low. If you have 414 horsepower, 295 pound-feet from a V8, it feels like it should have a little bit more torque than that, but I guess that's what it is. 0 to 60 takes about 4.6 seconds. And you can have it with a 6-speed manual, or you can get the 7-speed dual-clutch automatic, which is a lot better than the SMG2 that they put in the E46 M3. So it's a pretty decent transmission for the E92 M3, whether you go with the 6-speed manual or the 7-speed automatic. And these can be found right now in pretty decent examples for under $30,000. It's a very strong contender to the new Ford Mustang, and you also save $12,000 if you were to get one an M3 instead. Next up, 2 out of 5 is the Lexus ISF, and this is from 2008, just like the E92. This comes with a 5-liter naturally aspirated V8, which is fantastic, and an 8-speed automatic transmission. 416 horsepower, 371 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 is identical to the E92 M3 at 4.6 seconds. And this as well can be found for about $30,000 or less, depending on the condition of the car. So already you have 2 different choices with 2 V8s for less than $30,000, and both of these look pretty good, but I'm going to let you know which one I would prefer in this case. I think you probably know that already. Moving down to number 3 is the Mercedes C63 AMG, the 204 series from back in 2007. So this was the last AMG C63 to feature a naturally aspirated 6.2-liter V8 with up to 517 horsepower in some limited versions. Normally you get this in 457 to 487 horsepower. And this is if you think about German muscle cars, this would be the pretty clear definition of a German muscle car would be the C63, the 204 series with this naturally aspirated V8. This also comes with a 7-speed automatic transmission, 0 to 60, a little bit quicker than the Lexus and the Beamer at 4.2 seconds. You can find these right now for as low as $18,000, and that would be probably for the sedan. The coupe is going to be a little bit more expensive. Good examples are around $35,000. Number 4 on the list is a straight competitor to the Mustang, and that is the Camaro. Specifically the 2016 Camaro, which got the new Alpha platform from GM, which means that the Camaro became more of a sports car and more of a direct competitor to the M3 as well, and less muscle car-y. So I prefer the pre-Alpha platform Camaros, specifically the one that came out in 2010, the first of the modern Camaros. I actually made a review of one of those just a few days ago, and I uploaded it on the Sketch Monkey channel. I'm going to link that down in the description if you want to go and check it out, and exactly why I prefer the 2010 Camaro body style of the modern Camaros. But this one right here has a LT1 V8 with 455 horsepower and 455 pound-feet of torque, connected to an 8-speed automatic or a 6-speed manual. 0 to 60 takes only 4 seconds, so this is the quickest one yet. But last on the list, number 5, is going to be the 2015 Dodge Challenger RT. Because we have the Camaro in there, we might as well throw in the other muscle car, if you want to. I don't know if you can call the 2016 Camaro a muscle car, but the 2015 Dodge Challenger is most definitely a muscle car. With the RT trim, a 5.7 liter V8 that puts out 372 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60, 4.6 seconds, and these are pretty cheap right now. You can also get it with a manual if you want to. You can get these for around $30,000. So with that said, let's jump into Photoshop here and let me show you the lineup of Mustang alternatives, and then I'm going to show you what the big problem is with the brand new 2024 Mustang when it comes to the design. Which one of these would you prefer? Let me know in the comments below. You have the list here, you have the visuals right in front of you. Look hard and close at all these designs and let me know which one you would pick out of these, because they still, you can kind of put them all in the $30,000 to $35,000 price range, depending on the condition of them. But starting up top, this BMW E92 M3 is just one of the best looking M3s ever, and it doesn't hurt that it is a V8 under there. So you have the V8 under here, screams like crazy, very high revving. These are the 18-inch wheels. I believe you could get these with 19s as well. I would probably go with the 19s, even though these look very comfortable. But overall, looking at this design with this sharp line flow that we have in the shoulder and the tight graphics in the front and in the rear, clear separation between the top half of the front end graphics of the Beamer and the lower section having this very typical M intakes in the bottom, with having one big one in the middle and then 2 small ones on the sides. It's just overall a very beautiful design, and you could get this in a sedan as well if you wanted to, and I think the sedan looks really good as well. In the rear we do have the quad tailpipes that is also very typical for the M cars, and then we go down to the 2008 ISF. Between these two, as I said, I was going to let you know which one I would pick, and it would be 100% I would go with the BMW, because I just love the styling of the E92 M3. It's a fantastic car, and it still looks as good today as it did when it first came out. So the ISF looks a little static in the lower section. So have a look at the intakes here, and this sharp corner is almost a 90-degree angle in all these intakes in the lower part. I don't really think it suits the rest of the flow in the design. It's not a bad looking design, but it's clearly not as good looking as the M3 up top. The rear end, I do prefer the rear end a lot better than I do prefer the front. And we also have this functional air vent in the front fender that goes into this lower section and creating a pretty distinct side skirt at the lower part. We also have a very tight shoulder line going from the corner of the headlight going all the way back to the corner of the taillight. Very nicely done there, Lexus. I do like the wheels as well, and one specific detail about this ISF models are the positioning of the tailpipe sitting in a diagonal fashion like this, creating some unique features in the rear end of the Lexus. We also have this little trunk spoiler up top looking nice in body color. Moving further down, we come to the German muscle car, and just have a look at this design. It's almost like a DTM car that they just took the DTM car off the track, removed all the stickers, and put it for sale for public use. That's what this looks like, because look at the fenders here, and it looks like an aftermarket body kit onto this generation C63, and I love everything about this, even though it feels a little static in the intakes down here. But compared to the Lexus up top here, everything about this front end is more structural and horizontal and vertical and sharp edges, whereas here in the Lexus you have a combination of soft up top and then you have this very static lower section, which looks pretty weird, but it doesn't look as weird on the C63. And I love this design, specifically when you have it in the coupe style with the black wheels, multi-spoke wheels. Usually I'm not a huge fan of black wheels, but having it in this spec with all the black features, the black grills in the front end, the black diffuser in the rear, and the black wheels with the silver outline, it just looks really good. And even back in 2007, Mercedes still knew how to put some proper wheels onto their cars, and they still do today, because they are making some of the best looking wheels from the factory out of any manufacturer I can think of. And then we have this very swooping looking shoulder line going here into, look how it transitions beautifully in the back here into this ducktail spoiler, and then you have a carbon fiber piece up top sitting very nicely and subtle up top on the trunk. You also have this chrome AMG and C63. It would be nice to see these in black, but that would probably mean that you have to black out the Mercedes logo, and I'm not so sure about that though, because the Mercedes logo, I feel, should pretty much always be in chrome. I'm not sure why I think that, but for some reason you can have a Toyota logo in black, it doesn't matter, but the Mercedes logo is just special with the star. It should be blingy and always be chrome. So I'm not sure if I would actually black these out, because then it would clash with the logo in the middle. Moving further down, we do have these AMG bazooka tailpipes in the lower section, being oval as they were for a very long time. Today they're more of a rectangular shape like this, than with a section in the middle. But this looks fantastic. It's very subtle, the diffuser in the rear, but it's also very aggressive in its styling. But the implementation and integration of this diffuser looks spot on. And then you can see this body kit style that I talked about, with the wide fenders in the rear here, and then coming back in the lower section with this shelf going, hugging the road all around the car. It's just a fantastic looking design, and I can't believe that you can find these for under 20 grand today. It's just a fantastic deal. Now, coming into the Americans down here, the Camaro SS, this is in fact the 2016 model that we're looking at here, and it became so much more sporty than my favorite one is the 2013. Before the first facelift, the last year before the first facelift, because that feels like the purest Camaro redesign of the original 1967. Then it became just more fluid and more sports car-like, in addition to this new platform that GM introduced in 2016 to make it even drive more like a sports car, which is good for, if you want a sports car, it's fantastic, because the handling is going to be probably a little bit more better than the 2010 Camaros, but the looks still look sports car like in this case. It's not a bad looking design at all. It's actually pretty good looking, this Camaro, but they just lost that muscle car boxiness that I really liked with the 2010 to 2013 Camaros. But again, these are also pretty cheap these days. You can find these for $30,000 to $35,000 in a very good example with a manual transmission. Last but definitely not least, we need to make this red, because this car itself is green. So you gotta see the lines here. This is a Challenger RT. This specific one is a 2015 model, exactly the year when they facelifted the Challenger to put these LEDs in the front end right here, these rings in the front, and also you have LED taillights in the rear end. But everything else, they also of course refreshed the interior, but everything else on the body is exactly the same as the car that came out in 2008. It came out as a concept, I believe it was in 2007, then into production in 2008. It's still on sale today, and guess what? It's still outselling both the Camaro and the Mustang with a design that came out in 2007. I think that says a lot about muscle cars and what people want when it comes to design, when it comes to muscle cars, because this is a proper looking muscle car. The last remaining of the three muscle cars, the Mustang, the Camaro, this is definitely the last one that looks and has the proper design of a original 60s and 70s muscle car. I love this design. It's a shame that they're gonna discontinue this this year. Actually, they're discontinuing the Challenger. It's been around for a very long time, and it's been a top seller for Dodge all of these years. So this is a very important, iconic model for Dodge. So which one of these would I personally buy? Let's pick out my two favorites. It's gonna have to be the two Germans in this case. It's gonna have to be the C63 right here and the Mercedes and the BMW M3 up top. If I were to pick between these two, I think I'm honestly gonna go with the Mercedes, even though I can't have it in a manual. It's just that brutal naturally aspirated V8 AMG rumble that only Mercedes can make in these pretty old school AMG cars that makes this so special. So if it was me, I would go for the C63 instead of a new 2024 Mustang GT. But let's have a look at the design here real quick of the new Mustang, and I'm gonna let you know what the big problem is. Up top we do have the GT with this GT front end. I love what they did with the styling here. This turned into proper muscle car from the previous 2023 model year, where it's same as Camaro, they turn into sports cars, but now with this front end, very boxy like, and this line that starts the entire graphics in the front, they're definitely coming back to the muscle car feel in this design. The rear end, I've talked about this before, I'm gonna link this down in the description as well. I think this looks too weak for a muscle car. I did make a redesign of this new Mustang on the Sketch Monkey channel. And then we have the Dark Horse, the top of the line, looking very sinister and evil with these black inserts that we have in the front end. We still have the same graphics, of course, and the same line in the front. Looking fantastic, except for the rear, which still looks good, but it just doesn't have that beefy structure to it that I want to have in a Mustang. And then we come into the big problem here with Mustang. I'm not sure what Ford was thinking when they designed this interior, because have a look at the base interior here on the right, and then you have the normal interior of, or the more premium interior of the Mustang. Both of these have big screens. Why did you not make a housing for a classic model such as the Mustang to have some sort of connection to the previous Mustang? And so why did you just put a big screen in here? You don't even have the wave design that we have in every single Mustang up until today. Even the Mach-E, they decided to put in this wave in the middle that is typical for Mustang interiors. And this base interior, I have no words for what's going on here with these two screens separated like this, just floating here on the dash. It just does not look good, and it doesn't look like any sort of attempt to integrate these well into the dash. I'm just surprised by how they solved the interior issues with the new Mustang. But overall, I'm a huge fan of the new Mustang, and I can't wait to see them out on the streets and what people are going to do to them, because I feel like Mustang has always been a car that people are going to modify a lot. So there are going to be a lot of cool variants of the new Mustangs out on the road within just a year. Let me know what you would pick, the new Mustang or one of the 5 examples that I showed you. Let me know in the comments below.